Okay, I'm going to start off by saying something that a lot of people are not going to like. I'm probably going to get some hate mail about it. Well, what else? Why stop now, right? Here it is. I like Memorial Day because it's the beginning of the summer. Yeah. I mean, the patriotic thing, yeah, I know that's important, but for me, primarily, it's an opportunity to enjoy the first blast of a long, great summer season. Oh my God, you can't say that! You're supposed to honor the troops! Well, I went and I said it. So there. Number here is 663-1270. Jim Walsh, Bizman Weekly here at SuperTalk 1270 and SuperTalk1270.com. Here's my point. Way too many people are bending over backwards every year at this time to show how patriotic they are about Memorial Day. You know, millions of Americans have allowed themselves to be intimidated into thinking that if they don't overplay the patriot card, that they're somehow bad people. And the result is every year about this time, we have millions of people who pretend to be concerned about dead soldiers. Let me tell you something. If all those people really were concerned about dead soldiers, you know what? There would probably be a lot fewer of them. Dead soldiers, I mean. But as a result, you get this whole dog and pony show every year at this time, and frankly, it has no meaning to me, no meaning to anybody. I think if you're like me, if you love this time of year, if you love the beginning of the summer, and you savor that, you look forward to it for that reason, you should not be ashamed to say it. All right? All right. Number here is 663-1270. My name is Jim Walsh. Name of the show is SuperTalk 1270 Bizman Weekly. Actually, it's more like semi-weekly, every other week, every other Tuesday afternoon. We get to talk about some of the burning issues of the day. And I would enjoy very much hearing from you, even the grizzled veteran types. Because I know, you get the people who listen to talk radio to have their extreme conservative views validated, because that, of course, is most of what so-called talk radio is today. Most of talk radio, frankly, is a joke, a bad joke. It's not even funny. Most of talk radio today is what? You have Rush and Hannity and their 10,000 clones, right? And it's a bunch of guys who, like I just described, a bunch of guys who all bend over backwards to regurgitate all of the Fox TV talking points. They don't even have no original takes, no original topics. You can tune in any one of these clowns, and on a given day, you know exactly what they're going to say, and you know exactly what they're going to say about it. So come on, I mean, if that's what you want, fine. That's not about freedom of speech. What it's about is good radio. It'd be nice to hear something a little different once in a while. Well, that's what I'm doing here. Number here is 663-1270. Good morning. You're on Super Talk 1270. Thanks for calling. Hello. Hello. Don't be shy. Okay. The Invisible Man. Tell him I can't see him. Okay, 1270. Super Talk 1270. Number here is 663-1270. In case you're just punching in what I'm saying. And by the way, it is, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, altogether fitting and proper that we do honor our military. But how about honoring some of the other people who have contributed to building this country? The journalists, the intellectuals, the entrepreneurs, all of whom have had a hand in making this country what it is. A few years ago, there was this thing making the rounds on the internet. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who defends our liberty. It's the soldier, not this guy over here who fights for our freedom. Well, you know what? Other people do fight for our freedom. And while it's altogether well and good that we do honor the military when they do something honorable, not every soldier is a hero. Lieutenant Calley was sure as hell not a hero. He was a thug. Oliver North is a scumbag and a traitor. I don't care what he did in Vietnam. I mean, the man basically wiped his butt on the Constitution under the Reagan administration. I do not consider Oliver North a hero by any stretch of the imagination. He is a modern-day Benedict Arnold, in my humble opinion. But what about some of the other people? Some of the other people who have done what they have done, often at the risk of their own lives, in attempting to make this country a better place, to protect the interests of this country. Like a couple of guys back in the 70s who were very nearly killed for what they had to say about the Nixon administration. Yeah, I know it sounds like all the president's men, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. What about honoring some of those people? Not every hero in our society carries a gun. Some of them carry a pen, which is, as we all know, mightier than the sword. Some of them agitate. Some of them do other things. Some of them build great businesses. Some of them offer unpopular opinions about things. What I'm just saying is, let's give credit where it's due to all the people who have contributed to making this country good, not just the Army. Because, and let's face it, sometimes, like I say, not all soldiers are heroes. Sometimes the military is the bad guy. Yep, sometimes they are. Sometimes they are. When you have a little time for yourself, go to your Google thingy there and Google the words, the Nuremberg Conspiracy, and learn how the Continental Army very nearly blew it all by taking over this country as a military dictatorship. And it was only because of the efforts of a man who was a great soldier, but knew also he had to be more than that. He had to be a statesman, George Washington. I'll tell that story in a couple of minutes here, how George Washington saved the country from his own military. Because, you know, we can all talk about the people who saved the country, but sometimes we also need people to save us from our saviors. You know? The Nuremberg Conspiracy. We'll talk more about this in a couple of minutes here. In the meantime, number 663-1270. Jim Walsh on SuperTalk 1270 with more conversation and your calls. Come on up.
Right now, 68.
Get the app called Radio Pup for your iPhone and take us everywhere you go. Bismarck and Mandan's own SuperTalk 1270.
So I posted these comments over the weekend on Facebook and got a lot of heat for it, saying that basically too many people in this country are bending over backwards to make a big show of how patriotic they are about the Memorial Day weekend. And everybody's so scared to death to say something as mundane as, you know, I like Memorial Day because I like going to the ocean, or I like barbecuing and camping. I like the Indy 500. I like the beginning of the summer. And what's wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with that. But no, we're all supposed to get real pious and we're honoring our war dead. Well, it's fine that we do, but let's not be hypocrites about it. You know, once a year, people come out of the woodwork and decide they have to pretend that they really honestly care about our war dead. But let's face it. If we really cared that much about our war dead, there would probably be a lot fewer of them over whom we would have to mourn. Yeah. 663-1270. Jim Walsh on SuperTalk 1270. Oh, I notice I got a comment here. This is in response to a cartoon I published on my Facebook site. Describing, you see two pictures. On the left, you see the unknown soldier, the very familiar tomb of the unknown soldier. Some of us have actually seen it in person. Some of us, well, we've all seen pictures of it with the guards standing there day and night through all kinds of weather. The unknown soldier who is known but to God, as they say. And you have that on the left. On the right, you have the caption, the known soldier. You have basically a homeless guy on a cold winter's day, sitting on a grid, saying, "Hey, anybody buy me a meal or something?" Well, apparently somebody took offense at that. They're saying, now you're making fun of vets. You swing both ways. Don't ever claim. And he starts rattling on with a lot of nonsense. But let me pull this up here. I've got it. Yeah. Okay. I feel so ridiculous that I have to explain this. But I will anyway, because, again, the point is the kind of hypocrisy I'm talking about, where we make a big show of honoring our gallant soldiers while we turn a blind eye to those right in front of us who deserve nothing but our sympathy and our assistance. Oh, those guys, no, they're bums. Because they remind us of the fact that we are total hypocrites in the way we treat our warriors. Number here, if you got a problem with that, you let me know about it. 663-1270. Your comments also welcome on the SuperTalk 1270 website, supertalk1270.com, and also on Facebook at SuperTalk 1270 on the Facebook page. All right. Now, I want to set that aside for a moment because I want to talk about kind of a sad thing that happened over the weekend, not too far from here, in the town of Bemidji, Minnesota, which I believe is not too far from Grand Forks, is it? Actually, we got two things in Grand Forks we have to talk about, neither one of which particularly pleasant. There was the shooting at the Walmart in Grand Forks, and we have this incident that happened in Bemidji, which I've never been there. I've been told it's a very nice place. A lot of nice trees there. Anyway, here's the story. A 15-year-old baseball player died Sunday after collapsing at a pickup game in Bemidji. The police and fire departments responded to a medical call about 12:21 Sunday afternoon at the baseball field at Bemidji High School. The boy in question was pitching. He was struck by the ball after it was hit by a batter. That's according to a release from the Bemidji Police Department. He died later Sunday at a hospital in Fargo. Soon after he collapsed, the ambulance service arrived on the scene, and they took over the medical care. He was transported to Sanford Bemidji Medical Care. And again, what happened? Well, what happened was he was, as we're not making a joke here, please don't understand me. He was pitching in a pickup game, mind you. He got hit by a batted ball and died. Total accident. But here's the thing. We all know that the pitchers are extremely vulnerable. And we've all heard about, or in some cases participated in, the great debate about metal bats in youth leagues. Even in college, it's been an issue. Now, my question to you is, does a story like this make you want to keep your kid from becoming a pitcher? Should maybe the youth leagues use a screen like they use for batting practice in the majors? I've heard that suggested. And here's the number, 663-1270. I mean, for all the talk about, the kids should learn to play baseball the way we played it, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. But I do know this. This young man, this youth, is dead now because he was hit by a batted ball. He's a pitcher. And, what is the recompense for a life? There is none. You tell me. You tell me what to do about it. 663-1270. The team met later Sunday to honor the boy who was killed. As you can imagine, they're all just reeling over this. They're still not sure what happened exactly. Well, in a nutshell, a kid hit the ball and it hit the pitcher, and it was fatal. But beyond that, it's under investigation. They don't really know specifically. I assume there'll be an autopsy. I don't know. But, in this case, how can you be proactive? It's almost a thing where you have to be a little reactive. So they're figuring out what happened, and they will I guess at that point they'll determine what they're going to do about it. So again, 15-year-old baseball player died Sunday in a pickup game, Bemidji, Minnesota, not too far from Grand Forks, right? The boy was pitching. He was struck by the ball after it was hit by a batter. And he was transported to the hospital. He died later at the hospital, if I'm reading this correctly. So what do you do about that? And does it give you second thoughts about your own kids playing organized baseball, especially being a pitcher? Boy, those pitchers, man, those guys. I mean, I never got into baseball. I never even got as far as the farm league for Little League. That's how pathetic I was. But I remember thinking, man, those pitchers, those guys have nerves. You know what I wanted to be? I'm serious. I wanted to be the catcher. I wanted to be the catcher. For one simple reason. The catcher wore all this protective gear. He had a mask on his face so he wouldn't get hit in the nose by a baseball. He had the chest protector. He had the knee things, you know. So, you know, if any balls were hit in the wrong direction, you know, if he caught it in the face, it would hit the mask and he'd be okay. That's why I wanted to be a catcher, but I never could be because A, I couldn't catch worth a hill of beans, and B, I could never master the art of throwing to second base. If you've ever played baseball, you know what I'm talking about. One thing a catcher needs to know how to do is to throw to second base to head off any efforts to steal second base, because usually the way it works is the pitcher throws, the guy takes off, the catcher catches it, and then it's up to the catcher to throw to the second baseman to try to pick the guy off. I could never throw that well. I could never, when I threw the ball, it never got anywhere near the second baseman. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. And I was also not too good at catching. I kind of winced. Every time the kid would swing, I was good. I was okay at catching as long as the kid didn't swing. But if the kid swung, I would always wince and I'd miss the ball. All right? But anyway, I wanted to be the catcher because I wanted to play baseball, but I didn't want to get hurt. I know. It sounds so pathetic now. But that's the way I thought. The catcher had all this cool gear to protect him, and the mask and whatever. I would have never taken off that mask. Never. You know, I don't care if it's 100 degrees in the shade, 100% humidity. I would have kept that mask on. And the chest protector. I actually had a mask and a chest protector. I used it in some sandlot games around my old neighborhood. But I was never, nobody wanted to play with me because I was lousy. I was horrible. And I was a jerk. But I was 12 years old at the time, so sue me. Okay, I'm not the father of the man of the child, father to the man that I was. You know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I'm not the miserable little kid that I was then. I was young and pathetic. Now I'm different. I'm old and pathetic. Thank you very much. But back to the issue at hand here, and I don't mean to make light of this, because it is a tragedy. A 15-year-old baseball player died, and it happened not too far from here, right here in our region. He collapsed at a pickup game, Bemidji, Minnesota. He was the pitcher. Like I say, the pitchers on any level of baseball, those guys have got to just be, you got to have ice water in your veins to be able to do that, knowing that the very next pitch could be coming right at your noggin. And sometimes it does. And you better be ready to move out of the way or take the hit and deal with it. But what happened was this 15-year-old, his name was Zachary, he threw a pitch. The batter hit the ball, and it hit the pitcher. They took him to the hospital, and he died. 15 years old. And he was killed by a baseball. What do you do? What the hell do you do about something like that? If you got kids who want to play organized baseball, you got a kid who has a good throwing arm, wants to be a pitcher, does this kind of thing give you give you second thoughts about it all? That's my question to you. 663-1270. Would love very much to hear from you on this. Bizman Weekly, name of the show. My name is Jim Walsh. The program, the station is SuperTalk 1270. You can hear us around the world at supertalk1270.com. On your mobile anytime with the free app from Town Square Media called Radio Pup. Hang in there. Be right back.
Right now, 68.
Sean Hannity, weekdays at 2, only on SuperTalk 1270.
Jim Walsh on SuperTalk 1270. We've been talking about Memorial Day, about what a sham it is. People get all worked up. One weekend a year, everybody gets worked up and pretends to be really concerned and wring their hands over the soldiers who have fallen in the line of duty. And all I said was, if more people were genuinely concerned, maybe there would be fewer of those soldiers falling in the line of duty. Apparently, some people think that's unpatriotic of me. Well, in the immortal words of Archie Bunker, thank you. Oh, I got sputum all over the microphone there. Oh, that's... they're going to yell at me again. All right. Jim Walsh on SuperTalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. So, is Memorial Day a sham to you? Is it just a lot of hypocrisy? And really, what's wrong with saying, I like Memorial Day. I like doing stuff Memorial Day weekend, enjoying the nice weather, enjoying a little time with my family. What's wrong with saying that? There's nothing wrong with saying any of that. 663-1270. I would enjoy hearing from you in the process. Supertalk1270.com if you'd like to post your comments online. Now, I did get another response from the cartoon I posted. Again, to backtrack a little bit, I posted this cartoon I found. There's two pictures. There's one of the unknown soldier in the tomb, of course. And there's one of, the caption is the known soldier, who in this case is a homeless veteran who's waiting for somebody to give him money for a meal or whatever. Some people apparently took offense at that. Some people just can't handle the ugly truth that we are total hypocrites in the way we treat these people. We're all big on, defending the country and all the supporting the troops. Yeah, when they come home and they get in trouble, maybe because they have PTSD or whatever the problem is, we just conveniently find an opportunity to look the other way and not deal with it because it doesn't fit with our vision of the great glory. We're so hung up on the okie doke in this country. It's pathetic. And we want all our soldiers to be gallant heroes marching on the street, dun, 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 with the parade music. We don't want to acknowledge that guy sitting there on the street corner drinking a bottle of Sterno who, can't handle all the shell shock that he had to deal with a couple of years ago. We don't want to deal with that. We don't want to handle that. It's not even the question of whether we can. We just don't want to. And apparently, so I posted this cartoon and somebody took offense. I'd like to thank Sheena from Mandan, who responded to the critics in defending the cartoon, saying the joke was not making fun of vets. The sad joke is that there is more pomp and circumstance covering a now known soldier than there is covering those who have served and have been left forgotten. And she addresses the critics directly. Your sensitivity tells me you should talk with professionals who can help you through your emotional state. I sincerely thank you for that, Sheena. I'll try to get that cartoon up on the SuperTalk site a little bit later. Anyway, so we've got that we're talking about. And by the way, the other thing I wanted to mention is why do we only honor the soldiers? Yeah, the soldiers did what they did, but other people did what they did too. The journalists, the business people, the regular citizens who made a difference. All of them had a hand in making this country what it is and protecting this country from its enemies, foreign and domestic. Sometimes, let's face it, you may not want to acknowledge this, but sometimes the military is the bad guy. Let me tell you the story. Okay, I'm a history buff. I don't claim to be the world's greatest authority on the subject. I'm not like a James McPherson who came from, I think, Valley City, by the way. He wrote that great book about the Civil War, The Battle Cry of Freedom. Got to meet him a few years ago. Great guy. But anyway, I'm not Jim McPherson or Shelby Foote, but I've done a little bit of studying about American history. And I read about something called the Newburgh Conspiracy, which happened just a few years after the ending of the American Revolution. What happened was, after the Revolution, the new country was kind of getting its act together. We didn't have a lot of money. Of course, we had to have France assist us in winning the war. We all know that, of course, that, a big part of winning the war was, George Washington, of course, but also people like Ben Franklin going to Paris and negotiating for assistance from the French, without which we would not have won the revolution, very likely. But anyway, after the revolution, the country did not have a whole lot of money laying around. They were printing money. There was inflation. The money we had was not worth very much. You had a lot of seriously pissed off soldiers. Quite understandably, they had just gone through this war to defend their homeland against their colonial overlords. And defying all odds, they had won the war. And now they were not getting duly compensated for their efforts. And these guys were not rabble-rousers. They were not troublemakers. They were regular citizen soldiers who felt like they had gotten a raw deal, understandably. Well, when you have people like that, you always have one or two people who are willing to exploit that and try to get something going, try to whip up a little frenzy for their own benefit, for their own, for their own empowerment and enrichment, if you will. You had some people who organized this conspiracy with a lot of disgruntled soldiers. Basically, what they did was they sent an extortion letter to the Continental Congress saying, if we don't get our money, we're going to take our muskets and we're going to take this show on the road, and we're going to show you a revolution. Basically, what it would have amounted to is a counter-revolution. And all this happened just a couple of years after we had won the war. Yet we came that close to unraveling. We came that close to the whole thing just, going down the tubes. Because, let's face it, if that had happened, if the country had been thrown up in that kind of upheaval, the British were still around. They still had some ships moored in New York, and who's to say that they wouldn't have been tempted to get back in the game? It could have been a real mess for all concerned. The guy who put a stop to it was our number one soldier. He was our greatest soldier, but he was also a man who knew that there was a time to go beyond soldiering, beyond the blind obeying of orders. There was a time for statesmanship, and I'm talking, of course, about George Washington, who received word of the conspiracy through his friend and ours, Alexander Hamilton. Big Al wrote the general a note, had it sent to his home in Mount Vernon. George Washington, he got the note, and he immediately made for, I think it was in Virginia, where they were meeting to discuss this issue, where they were airing their grievances. So Washington showed up, and there were all these soldiers. They were bellyaching and quite rightfully in many cases, saying that, we put our lives for the line for this new country, and we're not getting anything out of it. The money you're giving us is worthless, or you're not giving us any money. We got bills to pay. We got this, we got that. And they were, understandably angry. So then it came time for the commander-in-chief, George Washington, to speak. Now, one thing that is not exaggerated in the history books, this man was revered by the people who served under him. Maybe not all, but a lot of them. Generally, he was well regarded. Many of them just revered the man they loved him like a father. He was like a father figure to them. George Washington got up there, and was kind of an accident because I don't think he even was aware of what he was doing. He was just being the great man he was. First of all, he read a statement from Congress, addressing how they were going to deal with this issue. And that won over a few people, but still it was kind of, we're glad he's here, but, what's he really going to tell us? And then there was this one moment, classic moment, where George Washington, the commander-in-chief, he paused. And bear in mind, this had been a few years since the war. He paused. He said, I have a letter to read from Congressman so-and-so regarding some of the plans they have drawn up to deal with this issue and getting you your money. And he pulled out his reading spectacles, which nobody had ever seen him wear before. He never had worn them in public. And he said words to the effect of, you will excuse me while I put on my glasses. I have grown old and nearly blind in your service. And there was not a dry eye in the house. For a moment, you could have heard a pin drop in the room. A lot of soldiers just were overcome emotionally. And from that moment, the Newburgh conspiracy, the conspiracy to take back the country using the Continental Army, it was done. It was over. It was done deal after that. Anyway, make a long story short, they did eventually work out a compromise deal, and the soldiers were happy, and they went on with building the country. But it was George Washington, in his capacity not just as a soldier but as a statesman, stepping in to literally save the country from its saviors. I always found that story very enlightening in many ways. Okay, we got about a quarter hour left to go. I may lighten the mood a little bit. We got time for some calls, too. Number here is 663-1270. If you wish to post a comment on the Cool website, you're certainly welcome to do so at the Cool website. There I go. I work at the Tuesday. Yeah. At the SuperTalk website. Don't try to reach me through Cool because I'm not on Cool right now. If you want to talk to me at Cool, call me tomorrow morning. But right now, I'm on SuperTalk 1270. SuperTalk1270.com. Some days you just can't drink enough coffee. You know what I mean? Anyway, we'll get back to it all in just a couple of minutes here. Maybe I'll just go home afterwards and take off my girdle and have a good cry. I don't know. Bizman Weekly, SuperTalk 1270 and SuperTalk1270.com with more conversation. Your calls coming up.
Right now, 72.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on SuperTalk 1270 and online at SuperTalk1270.com.
This is a protest against protesters.
Fearless cowards of the USA, bravely here at home they stay. They watch their friends get shipped away. The draft dodgers of the yellow beret, yellow streaks up and down their spines. Men who gladly stay behind. They won't fight for the USA. They fought hard for a yellow beret. Men who faint at the sight of blood. Their high-heeled boots weren't meant for mud. The draft board will hear their sob stories today. Only the best when the yellow beret. Back at home, a young wife waits. Her yellow beret has met his fate. He's been drafted for marching in a protest, leaving her his last request. Put a yellow streak down my son's back. Make sure that he never ever fights back. At his physical, have him say he's gay. Have him win
everything, and I have asthma, and look at that hangnail, and I got a pimple on my trigger finger, and besides, I know it's my 8th year in college, but I'm just starting to learn.
I'm going now!
Well, we were planning on having children sometime soon. My dad...
The yellow beret. Yeah, the yellow beret.
Yeah.
The yellow beret, baby.
Oh, yeah.
The yellow beret. The yellow beret, baby.
That's a group called the Beach Bums. Actually, Bob Seger was in that group. That's from a long bygone time, perhaps not as bygone as you think. All right, Jim Walsh here on SuperTalk 1270 and SuperTalk1270.com. Let me see if I got this other thing. You remember that song? Yeah, you remember a song called "Please, Mr. Custer"? Came out about some guy in Custer's regiment who didn't want to go. Oh, yeah, it's kind of funny. But here's another version. This version came out during the Vietnam War. Kind of a take.
This record was sung and produced in complete jest, for fun. It is in no way meant to be unpatriotic. The greatest of statesmen throughout our United States history have made jest of serious situations in hopes that it might ease world tension. This is our full and complete intention.
I'm not sure all that was necessary.
Please, Mr. Johnson, please don't make me go. Now, honest, Mr. Johnson, I don't want to go. There's a Viet Cong waiting over there. I'm hiding in every palm. I might let you cut my hair, but please don't send me to South Vietnam. I said, oh, listen, Mr. Johnson, I don't want to go. Now I know I'd feel a whole lot better if you never sent to me this letter. Cause I gotta take a physical today, and I'll be Saigon bound if it I'm 1A. So please, Mr. Johnson, I don't wanna go. Well, I just bought a brand new car and new strings for my guitar.
All right, yeah, you get the basic idea. I think we can move on from there. Jim Walsh here on Super Talk 1270. Yeah, it's just not very good. I mean, you know, I like the other one better. The Yellow Berets with Bob Seger and the Beach Bums. Jim Walsh here on Super Talk 1270 online, SuperTalk1270.com. Of course, there's been a lot of religious related business in the news with the Wacky Duggar family. Boy, I've never liked those people. I remember 20 years ago when they started cranking out them babies, and I'm thinking, these people are just creepy. I mean, come on. This is not what the world needs. The world does not need more superstitious hillbillies coming into the world. And now, you know what's been happening lately. And, you know, poor old Mike Huckabee, huh? Boy, I real feel sorry for him. Yeah, right. He really misplayed that one. Yeah, swing and a miss on that one, Governor. Yeah. I mean, even his hardcore following on his Facebook site are jumping all over his case. Mike, what are you saying? It's terrible what they did to those children. You're justifying it. And meantime, you know, far be from me to rejoice in the in the downfall of any politician, but well, that's not true. I'm just loving every minute of it here. Anyway, speaking of weirdness from religious people. I got a couple of stories here. Pat Robertson has done it again. What did he say this time? Well, he says that secondhand clothes may have demons in them. On his show, you know, they have this little segment where the girl reads a letter. I got a letter from so-and-so in Arkansas saying, basically this person tells a story of buying some clothes and that her mother or her grandmother told her, you know, you should have those clothes blessed because the people who wore them before might have been evil people and blah, 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 blah. So Pat Robertson goes off on this story about something that happened allegedly in the Philippines where some witch had put a spell on some clothing, and people would put on the clothing and they would do terrible things. It sounds to me like one of the old Twilight Zone episodes, doesn't it? I think it was, actually. I think that's where I think Pat's a little confused, as he gets into his dotage. He may be a little confused about that, but I just found. Hey, I wonder what the folks at Seeds of Hope are doing. Are you guys over there? How about you guys over at Goodwill on 3rd Street? What are you doing about that? Some of those clothes may be cursed. There may be a devil in the dirty laundry there. Dirty laundry, never been dirtier. Anyway, I pass that along as a public service for you folks who deal with that kind of thing. You may want to keep in mind the potential danger there. Now, here's another story just to show you that I am and always have been and always will be proud to be an equal opportunity offender. I've got a story about a Muslim televangelist from Turkey who claimed that, how can I put this? He said that men who you remember the Bible, right? The Old Testament. You remember the story of Onan. And you remember what Onan did and how God got kind of mad at him and, did the smiting hip and thigh thing with Onan. Well, what Onan did that made God mad is what we're talking about, okay? He Onanized himself. Anyway, this televangelist is saying that men who do what Onan did will find in the afterlife that, you ready for it? They will find in the afterlife that their hands have become pregnant.
I say this calls for action, and now,
Yeah.
nip it in the bud.
Well, that's kind of what I say. Well, maybe that's a bad choice of words. Whatever happened to the good old days when the worst that could happen was you'd go blind, right? Oh, boy, my trouble. I'm going to get to the afterlife, and I'm going to feel like, the patriarch of the Osman clan. I'm going to have so much trouble on my hands, so to speak.
What if you could make your money?
All right, your comments welcome. SuperTalk1270.com. Boy. I'm ready for a nap. I don't know about you. Jim Walsh here, SuperTalk 1270. You've been listening to Bizman Weekly. Have a good day. Thanks for listening.